Hi, I'm Don Victor. Welcome to compositionchecklist.com. Uh, want to just share a little bit about what the composition checklist is and why it would be important for you as an artist or someone who's interested in the arts to download it and use it. So I teach artists, and I've taught artists from ages 11 to 80 how to design and compose artwork. I've been kind of, I don't want to say obsessed with it, but really, really focused on it for probably close to 25, going closer to actually 30 years now. And because when I was younger, when I was about 17, and I found somebody who taught it, classical composition, I knew that it wasn't being taught and that a lot of artists were struggling with it. And so I dedicated myself for years on how to design, how to understand design, how to analyze design, how to understand the mind of a composer visually composing. Um, and so I've had the great privilege to train artists in this. I work with middle school and high school students as well as professional artists, and really getting them into seeing into the mind of the artist, into the mind of the masters as they compose and design artwork so that they can do it for themselves. So what I did here is I put together 30 questions, and and they're broken into 4 segments, okay? So when I teach composition, I teach it in 4 segments. We deal first with story. Before you can make any decision in your artwork, you have to first know, what is it that you're trying to communicate? What is it that you want me, as the viewer of your artwork, to feel? If you don't know that, you're lost. No matter what decisions you make, it's kind of in vain. And so you have to know from the beginning, what is it? What's your story? What is it that you want people to feel? And Norman Rockwell said one of the keys to his success was that he can make a person feel 2 emotions in the same painting. And when you have 2 emotions and you feel this anxiety and you feel this joy in the same image, what happens is your mind has to then shift from one feeling to the other. And that causes you to travel through time. It gives you a shift inside yourself. And that there is the story. Okay, so you're going to have, in terms of story, there are 3 important questions that you want to ask yourself about your artwork before you make any marks on a piece of paper. Now, you may sketch a little bit to try to figure out what your story is, but in terms of actually drawing and painting it, you want to know clearly, what is your destination? Where is it that you want to go? And then down here, fill in the blank, it talks about the shift, okay? What emotion to what emotion do you want people to feel? What idea do you want them to have? The second part of the process that I train artists to do as they go through the composition is to focus on their lines. Now, lines are very important. Lines are edges, they're thrusts, they're angles, they're marks, brush marks, pencil marks, okay? You have to be able to control these things, because this is actually what moves the eye, physically moves the eye in a certain directions. And it is the pattern of directions that triggers an emotion within inside the viewer. And that is super, super key. So if you have a certain idea that you want to communicate, a certain feeling that you want us to feel, you have to know how to control the eye to actually trigger that emotion within us. And so there are a number of questions here to ask when controlling your lines, the directions in which the eye move. Ultimately, the number 1 question at the end of all of these segments is one simple question, which is, how does your line support your artwork, okay, or your story, okay? So how does it support the story? So the third part is what I call space, okay? Now space is distance. It's how you design distances. Do you make the eye move very slow and then very fast? Do you make it move in small increments? Boom, 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 boom. Or is it boom, 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 boom? All of these things make us feel certain things. So you want to be able to control how fast and how slow, how long the eye looks at something, and then how it moves away from it. All of these things you want to control as a composer within your artwork so that it then communicates your story or transmits the feeling that you want us to feel as the viewer. Okay? A lot of artists feel that their artwork isn't heard, isn't understood, and it's not, because if I want to communicate something and I don't know the actual language to communicate it in, no matter the intent of the effort of energy that I put into it, if it's not articulated properly, you will not understand it. So let me give you a prime example. Kids today are not being taught cursive. We were taught cursive. So when we look at cursive, we can say, ooh, it's pretty, it's attractive. But we can actually understand what it's saying. So kids today can look at it and appreciate it and say, oh, that's pretty, that's attractive. But they won't understand what the words are because they don't know how to read cursive. They don't know how to write it. Okay, it's the same thing with design. When you're designing lines, when you're designing space. Now, the fourth area that I train artists in terms of designing composition is designing values, okay? And that's going to be your depth. So your lines direct your eye. Your spaces give rhythm to the distances within inside your composition, and your values bring you in and out of an image, okay? And so you have to be able to control the values so that you now are able to bring the eye in and out of the image. Values are also very important because they help take a really nice line drawing and then transfer it into this geometric, this solid, okay? And so you take an image that's just black and white line, and the white part is space, the black part is line, and then you begin to give it form, okay? So you take all these shapes and now you're able to convert it into form through value. So value is extremely important. So there are 9 questions here that you would want to ask yourself regarding values. So the checklist is free. Go ahead and download it. Read through them. Do you have to ask every single question? No, but I promise you, you ask one question and you apply it, you find the answer to that and you apply that to your work, or you consider that question in your work, your artwork will improve. I guarantee that, okay? But here are 30 questions, and most likely more than 80, if not higher, more than 90% of the questions here are things you probably have never heard of, okay? Just because artists are not trained to compose and design as they used to be. And so, like I said, I have the great privilege of working with a lot of artists to train them in that. But I wanted to give this back and give this and put it out there. So it's a composition checklist. Just go ahead, download it now. It's yours. Enjoy. And hope to see you soon. Ciao.